Hi guys, it's me, it's your boy, the Novice Reader, and today we are going to be going through a birthday book haul. So yes, earlier this week it was my birthday, I had a really good time, and one of the perks of having a birthday is being able to buy lots of books guilt-free. And no one can question you when you come with a handful of books home because it's your birthday. You get a free pass for that one day a year, and maybe half a pass on Christmas. So today I'm going to be talking through the books that I bought for myself, and one of them was gifted to me, so I appreciate that. So I'm going to break it down into two categories. So half the books here were bought in charity shops that I purchased, and the other half were bought in a shop within Cirencester, which is in Wiltshire, in the UK. And it was a shop called Codex Books, which is a fantasy and science fiction shop. Fantastic things in there. The manager's really nice. It's a great place. So if you're ever in Cirencester, I'd definitely recommend going. Got some fantastic books, which I'll show you in a moment. But I thought I'd start off with the charity finds because I'm a big fan of charity bookshops. I think you could get some amazing deals in there for, no price at all, basically. So if we start off with some of the classics I picked up, and then we'll move more on to the other one that I bought in the fantasy shop, the charity shop, sorry. So we start off with H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. So I've been kind of a fan of H.G. Wells for a while. I recently read War of the Worlds for a book club, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting, and actually one thing about War of the Worlds, which was fascinating, was the way it was described felt very similar to how something of the same magnitude would happen today, even though it was written 100 years ago. So I think that kind of, H.G. Wells's kind of vision of the future was really interesting there. And one of the other things was that the events of the story actually set around the area I grew up. So that was quite interesting, quite nice to be able to, see where I grew up, be destroyed by aliens. So that was interesting. But anyway, I've got H.G. Wells' A Time Machine here. And this is basically a story, from what I can gather, about a time machine. Very very analytical stuff here on this channel. But yeah, so I'm really interested in reading this. I know there was an adaptation that I've seen clips for that was quite interesting. But anything with H.G. Wells, I think is kind of a must read for me nowadays. So anyway, going back to The Time Machine, I'm very interested in this. I believe it's the character goes into the future, and he kind of sees what has come of the world, and let's just say it's probably, or it isn't good. So I'm very interested in reading this. So that's The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. The second book I bought was Arthur Conan Doyle, The Lost World and the Poisoned Belt. So if you've watched my top 10 list, you'll know The Lost World is one of my favourite books of all time, my second favourite in fact, bit of a spoiler for that video. But The Poisoned Belt, I think, is a sequel to The Lost World, and it has Professor Challenger, who's one of the main characters of The Lost World, coming into this second book. So I thought that would be a really interesting read. I love Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's writing style. I love the kind of settings he pulls and creates. So I think this is going to be a really interesting read. So I'm really happy with this purchase. As you can see, it's kind of a nice edition. It is a pocket classic. It's got an interesting cover. I'm not the biggest fan of some of these classic covers, but it's not the worst on a bookcase. So yeah, so this one, so I was going to try to read the synopsis there very quickly. I should have done that first, always be prepared. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading The Poison Belt because I really enjoyed the character of Professor Challenger, so it'd be interesting to see on the adventures he gets up to next. So that is The Lost World and the Poison Belt by Arthur Conan Doyle. Next book is Alan Quatermain by H. Rider Haggard. So I believe this is a sequel to The Solomon Mines, which is a book I have read. And I think Alan Quatermain is kind of an explorer during that kind of 19th century time of Africa, and the story of Solomon's mines follows him as he finds these elusive mines that have, all the riches of the world, basically. So Alan Quatermain is a sequel to this, and apparently the individuals who involved in the first book went back to England, got a bit bored because they'd had, such an adventure in Africa, so they decided to go back. So this book follows that journey back to Africa. So I thought that would be really interesting because, again, I really enjoyed the first book, Solomon's Mines. So I'd be really intrigued to see how this one stacks up. I think Alan Quatermain as a character is really interesting. It's one that I actually got introduced to in the film, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is a weird place to get introduced to a literary character. But yeah, that's where I found him, and I thought he's a really interesting character. So yeah, I'd like to learn more about it. So I'll probably do more in-depth reviews for these books after I've read them properly, but this is just, a fast pace getting through them all. So that is Alan Quatermain by H. Rider Haggard, and this edition is a Penguin Popular Classics. Going on to the next one, this was another one I got in the charity shop. It's called The Quiet at the End of the World. Fortunately, it's not in the best condition. You know, someone has scribbled over a few of the pages, which is a shame, but when you're getting a book for £1, you know, it can be expected. So this is a post-apocalyptic novel, I believe, and it's about the world's population becoming fertile and can no longer have children. So it's the two youngest individuals who are left on the planet, and they're being cared by some elderly people within their group, and it's apparently them going out exploring within London. I think the last kind of section of this sums it up quite well, so I'm just going to read through this. In the quiet at the end of the world, Lowry and Shen must decide what they are willing to sacrifice to save the whole human race. So to me, that sounds like there's something special about them, or they stumbled across something interesting that can reverse this kind of disease that's happened to the human race. So I'm intrigued to see where this goes. I love post-apocalyptic fiction, so this is definitely a must for me. I'm very excited about this. It's quite a beautiful cover as well, which drew me to this. I think the gold plating and the two individuals in the middle, and then kind of the spirals out like that. I think it's really nice. You've also got some, it's kind of might be hard to see, but you've got some kind of like coding coming down the sides, kind of like, you know, Matrix style sort of thing. So, you know, this makes me think maybe it could be, you know, these could be nerve endings of like a brain, and it could be something to do with an AI. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll give it a read, and I'll let you know what I think of it. So that is The Quiet at the End of the World by Lauren James. Moving on was two more of the fantasy books that I picked up at the charity shop, and they are from Jenny Wirtz. So we have The Curse of the Miss Rafe and The Ships of Memoria. So I've only got the first two. The third one in this trilogy was unfortunately not available, but I managed to get these two for £1 each. So I don't know anything about them, and I'm not even going to read the back covers, not just to spoil myself, but you know, not to spoil you either. But I've heard lots of very, very positive things about this author, especially from other booktubers. I think like Jimmy Nuts from the Fantasy Network. I'm pretty sure he's mentioned Jenny Wirtz a few times, and he's always had very positive things to say. So on that recommendation, I saw these, I knew I had to pick them up. I'm always interested in finding new fantasy stories anyway. So again, that's the Jenny Wirtz, and the series is called The Wars of Light and Shadow. So yeah, very interested to read these. These are big, you know, big thick fantasy books, and that's what we love to see. So Jenny Wirtz, I look forward to reading that. And then the last three that I got from charity shops, and please remind yourself that this is a lot of books, but most of these books I got for £1, £2. So, you know, that's £1 for, you know, hours and hours of entertainment. So, you know, if you have charity shops and they have books, please, you know, go there, because not only are you getting a fantastic deal, you're helping charity as well. So, well, that's what at least I say to myself when I buy 100 books. So the last one I got from the charity shops is the Fara Trilogy by Robin Hobbs. So it starts with Assassin's Apprentice, it then goes into The Royal Assassin, and then Assassin's Quest. So I got all three of these for £1 each. So you can imagine that's a huge series. I think the first book is smaller, the second one's a bit bigger, and then the third one is even bigger. I've heard fantastic things about Robin Hobb. Never read her, but I've heard that her writing is immaculate, and I've also heard that her characters are incredible as well. So I've heard of, I think it's Fitz. Yeah, Fitz is the character in this book that everyone says is amazing. Apparently the first book has a sad ending, I've heard. One of my friends has recommended this to me, and I really appreciate his opinion, especially when it comes to anything book related. He's always spot on, so I'm definitely going to give this a read. I do like the cover. It kind of reminds me of the first law books, kind of that like parchment-y paper, and I guess like this is like a crest of a house. Yeah, it looks like it's a bit of parchment, a bit of like calligraphy. So I do really like that. It's not my favorite, but I think if you put them together and you look at all of them and side by side, I think that's actually really nice. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So that is Robin Hobb, the Fara Trilogy. So yeah, I'm really excited to read that. And so that ends with my charity books. But now we go on to the bookshop I was talking about earlier in Cirencester, which is called Codex Books. So it's a fantastic bookshop. So if you're ever in that part of the UK, please go there and support them. The manager, like I said, is a really nice guy. He's very knowledgeable in all fantasy and sci-fi. And they've also got a section at the back which does have secondhand books as well as like full price books. So I think I have one of those books here, which I'll show in a second. No, I'll show that one now actually. So this is the book that I got in this shop for £1.50, and that is World of Warcraft Beyond the Dark Portal. So one thing to know about me, I'm a big fan of World of Warcraft. I've played it for many years. Not very good at it, but I play it anyway. But one thing I really enjoy about World of Warcraft is the story. I absolutely love it. I've read some of the newer books, haven't been the biggest fan, but I just think that is because of the direction World of Warcraft's going in the moment story-wise. It's not the worst, but isn't that exciting, isn't that great? So I thought when I saw this for £1.50, I thought I'd go back to, World of Warcraft when it was in its prime and, when the stories were really good. And I think, so this one is written by Aaron Rosenberg and Christy Golden. So Christy Golden has written quite a few World of Warcraft books. I'm not sure about Aaron Rosenberg, but Christy Golden anyway. She's written some great World of Warcraft books that I really enjoyed. Can't think of any of them off the top of my head, but I know her name has come up a lot, and I think she's a great author. So yeah, really looking forward to reading this. And it's about an era in World of Warcraft's history where the residents of Azeroth pushed the Horde back through the Dark Portal, back to Outlands, and then it's basically the Horde reopens the Dark Portal and comes back to Azeroth. So I won't go into too much of that. If you know World of Warcraft, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know World of Warcraft, I think this could be a good place to start. I think it probably would be a good place to start actually. So if you're interested in learning about World of Warcraft, I'd recommend Beyond the Dark Portal. So this is a great book, and also nice little edition with the actual Dark Portal, as you can see, and there's nice little people getting chucked around as well. So fun things. So coming into more of the books that I purchased, we have, and I know this is coming to a lot of books. I've got two books from a different fantasy franchise, but still really exciting one, and that is Warhammer. So I've got this one, which is from Time of Legends, and it's called The Doom of Dragonback, The Fall of Ekrond by Gav Thorpe. I've read a lot of Gav Thorpe before. I think he's a fantastic author. I probably use the word fantastic a lot, but it sums up how I'm feeling. I'm not really too familiar with the Time of Legends. I'm not really too familiar with too much of Warhammer fantasy, if I'm honest. I've read a few Warhammer 40k books, and I have really enjoyed them. So I thought, I'll give the fantasy section a go because I really enjoy fantasy. I also played the Warhammer Total War games. I think they're great. So this book is basically, I believe that the dwarves have lost their stronghold, or they're losing their homeland against the greenskins, which are like the orcs and the goblins in this universe. So it's basically the fight between them, which, dwarves versus orcs, what more could you ask for? So that's The Doom of Dragonback by Gav Thorpe. And the other one I bought was the God Eater's Son. So I think this has more to do with chaos. And if you're familiar with Warhammer, chaos is quote unquote the bad guys in the universe. They represent the evil that comes and fights off all the other races. And this is a Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So I'm not too familiar with the different ages. So I think Time of Legends and Age of Sigmar are different eras of Warhammer fantasy, but I will have to look into that. But, I don't even know these books are part of the series. I just picked them up because I thought, the covers, for one, look how fantastic that cover is. It's amazing. So I thought I'd give this a read. And I like Warhammer fantasy. Well, I hope I do anyway. So yeah, I want to give these two a read. And I think they both look really interesting. So one of them covers dwarfs versus orcs, and this one looks like chaos. In the background, you can probably see looks like beastmen, which are one of the factions in Warhammer fantasy. So I think it's probably them. Looking at this, sound, it might be elves that they're against. Looking at the architecture of those buildings. So either way, I know it's going to be a fantastic book because I think everything's fantastic. So I'm very happy and very looking forward to reading that. Coming down to the last few, because I know time is getting on. We've got the Mammoth Book of Cthulhu. So if you have watched my top 10, you know I am a fan of Lovecraft. So when I saw this cover, which is so nice, it's up there with one of the top 10s. book covers that I own. So as you can see, this is Cthulhu, or how he's depicted. And then that's the ship that I believe in the Call of Cthulhu. Bit of a spoiler, this kind of represents that story, the Call of Cthulhu. So if you know the story, you know what this kind of represents. But what this is according to this, is a new Lovecraftian fiction. So it's an anthology of authors writing their own Lovecraft-inspired stories. And what more can you ask for? And there is a big list. You want to pause the video there, you can see the list of all the authors that are involved. I can't lie, I don't know any of these authors, so I don't know if they're any good, but I'm always interested in reading about new things. So that is the Mammoth Book of Cthulhu. So it's really interesting. The next one is The Vagrant by Peter Newman. Not heard much about this at all, but I have seen a few booktubers talk about it. It basically seems like it's a future dystopian sort of wasteland, war-torn land fantasy, and it's basically one individual, I'm assuming the Vagrant, who doesn't talk and is carrying a baby, and is trying to get this baby or something to a city. And I assume he's going to have a hard time getting there because the fun is in the journey and not the destination. So very interested to read this. I do like this minimalistic cover. I think it's really nice. Apart from I don't like that. Great that it's got 5 stars. I don't like it on my front covers. It's like when you have stickers that are stuck on that, you can't get them off. I dislike that, but overall I think it's a nice cover. So that is The Vagrant by Peter Newman. And the last two, which are by Django Rexler. And these two I picked up, which are Blood of the Chosen and Ashes of the Sun. And I believe they're part of a trilogy, which I can't see it off here. Oh, the Burning Blade and Silver Eye trilogy. So this is 1 and this is 2. But again, covers drew me straight in, looking incredible. I like the fact that this one's got the red circle and that one's got the white. So they kind of like, they kind of combine to fill the whole screen, the whole book cover with red, which, is great. And I imagine there's probably, a lot of blood involved in this, but it's basically looks like really interesting fantasy story. I've never read Django Rexler before, but I've had recommendations from other booktubers. I think Alan of the Library of Alexandria, can't pronounce that properly. I'm pretty sure he's recommended Django Rexler, and I really appreciate his recommendation. So I'm gonna give this a go. I don't think he's recommended this series particularly, but he has recommended, or at least some of the booktubers I watch have recommended Django Rexler in different cases. So I'll be really interested to that. And apparently, according to this quote here from Grimdark magazine, so Grimdark story, it's always a plus. It's a high-octane dystopian fantasy thrill ride. So can't ask for much more. It's not that long of a book, so hopefully it'll be an easy and quick read. And yeah, I'm really, really interested in this. I think I haven't had a fantasy story in a long time. Like started a new one. I've been reading a lot of Malazan and things like that. So I haven't really introduced any new fantasy stories. So I'm really excited to start that. And then lastly, you might have realised there's a bit of a gap here in my Stephen King books, because my sister got me this book, Stephen King, Mr. Mercedes. She doesn't know she's got me this book, but she got me a voucher for Waterstones, which I used to buy this book. I started watching the TV show Mr. Mercedes, really enjoyed it, so I thought I might as well get the book. Again, this is another Hodder cover, Hodder edition to add to my collection, which again, I think is a great addition. I think Hodder understands the stories and does it very well. So if you're ever in the UK, I'm not sure if this is in the US, but I definitely know it's in the UK. If you're in the UK, then definitely try and get this book cover or any of the other ones. So that's the last one. So I do have some money left over from some of these vouchers. So if you have any recommendations for books, please let me know. But yeah, thank you very much for, spending time watching, me go through the books I got for my birthday. I'm really looking forward to reading some of these. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please leave the like, comment, and subscribe. The standard YouTube things, and I'd really appreciate that. Help the channel grow. Yeah, and if you have read any of these books or you'd like to read any of these books, please let me know. I really wanted to start this channel so we can start a discussion. So yeah, if you can, I would appreciate that, and I'll try and reply to everybody who does. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you later. Bye.